Hi class, this is the second part of inventory models. In the first part we talked about EOQ. Now we're going to talk about a different model which is called the economic production lot size. It's a different model that applies in a different situation. Overall, this model has the same assumptions except two. And in addition to those two exceptions, we also have something new to talk about, which is what we call the lot size. Okay? The definition of this lot size is basically the size of an order of a production. So for example, I have an example here is, now I'm jumping from the top to the bottom, but say that you are running a factory and that factory has an order to make 10,000 shoes. And those 10,000 shoes are going to require 100 yards of leather, which is going to be the inventory that is going to be coming in. So the lot size is that is the order size, is that 10,000 that you are supposed to make, to build, to produce, to serve. Okay, so that's the lot size. Now, what about the two exceptions to the assumptions? Well, so the first one is, if you remember in EOQ, I can go back. In EOQ, your inventory came all at once. So you would put the order in every time you needed the quantity, and it will come in immediately all at once. Here, in economic production lot size, we assume that the inventory is just constantly arriving in fractions of the total, of course. So in this case, let's just continue with the example of the 100 yards of leather. This inventory is just constantly coming in. All right, it's just set it's scheduled to come in at a constant rate. Right, you technically don't have to. Just let me put it that way. It just keeps coming at a constant rate. Another big assumption is that our production must be equal or greater than the demand, meaning there are no. Why do I have a? Well, there are no shortages. Sorry, I misread. There are no shortages. That is, you're producing at least as much as what your customers are ordering or consuming. Okay, so you're producing more than what you really need to. Right, you have that capacity. Okay, so the model changes a little bit. So now you're going to have two very different periods. You're going to have a period of production and a period of non-production. So during the period of production, you're constantly selling, you're constantly shipping out your goods, you're constantly selling, you're constantly serving your customers. But during the production, because you're producing more than what the customers are asking for, you're constantly growing your inventory. Okay, so let's just say that in a day you make 10 shoes of those 10,000 shoes that you require. You make 10 shoes. Oh, that's not going to work out. But let's just say it's 10 shoes. You make 10 shoes, but you only sell 8 or 9. So there's always like an extra shoe, left around. That extra goes to your inventory. So it's just growing there in the inventory. You are accumulating. So every day that goes by, you have like this overstock, if you will, of stuff. And then you get to a point where you stop production, you go to idling, and you enter the non-production phase. During the non-production phase, you don't produce. You're not transforming inventory into goods. You're not doing anything. But you keep selling to your customers. You keep shipping stuff out to your customers. So during the non-production period, your inventory, once again, goes down, right? Because you're not producing. So it goes down until it hits a point where you need to start the machines again, and produce again until you reach Q star, which is the maximum amount of inventory that you can hold, and then you do that again. This is very similar to what happens in the automobile industry. Very, 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 very similar. They produce in batch, not all of them, but but in manufacturing, this is very common. That they produce batches of stuff, and then they shut down, and then they start, and for some time they repair. The workers go for training, whatever that is, and then so they're idling, and then they restart again, and they produce. Now, when that happens, when they go from non-production to production, there is a cost to that. There's a period where they need to restart the machines, retrain, retool, restart, whatever it is that they need to do to get the production back up. In my own personal experience, we had a machine, and this was in the production of zinc, Z-I-N-C. In the production of zinc, it would cost, I forgot how much, but it was in the thousands of dollars to thousands of euros in this case. It was in the thousands of euros to just get one of the machines I was going to say heated up, but it's not heated up, but kind of a little bit, to get the machine prepared, recalibrated, and ready to produce again. It was thousands of dollars, and it took a few days just to get it ready to go for another batch. Okay, so clearly it's not something that we like to turn on and off, but you have to, because that's how it works. Okay, so that's the setup cost. All right. So once again, how much, how many times, how long does it take between the setups? So now we're worried about these setups, like how often do I go from production to non-production to producing again? What's my total annual cost, and what is the length of every production run? So once I start making stuff, how long do I produce? How long do I produce for? And then when do I stop? So our Q star, which is that we always start with Q star. That is the one thing that you need to start the process of all these calculations. Your Q star is a very similar, but it's not the same as EOQ. It is a square root, yes. And by the way, I didn't address this before. I am skipping so much here, right? I am skipping all the where all these came from. I'm skipping all the calculus and the derivations of these formulas and where they came from. But I'm just giving you exactly what you need to complete the tasks. So it's a square root, as you can see, but in this case, it's 2 times the demand times the cost of ordering divided by 1 minus the demand divided by P production, all of that multiplied by the cost of holding, CH. Okay, then how many times is exactly the same? Actually, this is exactly the same. Time between setups is going to be, notice how these two are very similar, but not the same. The number of production runs per year is going to be your total demand divided by your Q star, right? Because that's how many times you're going to be going from production to production, and then the time between the setups is going to be determined by the quantity of inventory order Q star. That divided by the demand is going to give you the frequency between the setups. And then you're going to have a total holding cost, which is obviously extremely similar to our EOQ model. But now we need to take into account the setup cost, because it's going to cost you to go from non-production to production, and then to non-production to production again throughout the year. So we have to include that as well. It's all in there. And then the length of the production is just going to be your Q star divided by the P. Right, so here's an example. Beauty bar soap. Okay, so soap is produced on a production line that has an annual capacity of 60,000 cases of soap. The annual demand is estimated to 26,000 cases. So far we're good because we can produce more than the demand. So remember, that's one of the assumptions, one of the requirements. With the demand rate essentially constant throughout the year, yes, okay, yeah, it's just not gonna all come at the very end. By the way, I could give you the. I'm not gonna go into it, but there are always these very strange situations, right? And I used to have a friend who owned a Christmas ornament plant. I think he only made the Christmas the balls for the trees and a few other things, and down in Mexico. And it was so interesting to hear him talk about the production, because his production would idle. I forgot the details, but it will idle for most of the year, and then it will kick in. They will produce, and hold inventory. Like they would just hold because there are no sales, right? Because you only sell in Christmas. Then will come then they will go to idle. Actually, no, they will start selling during the production, I believe. Yes. Then they will start selling like crazy because Christmas is coming, and then go idle. So that chart, that graph that I showed you before, that is supposed to show you what happens during an entire year, for my friend, he only had one of these triangles. He would go from production to non-production only once per year. Very interesting case. Okay, the cleaning, preparation, and setup of the production line costs approximately $135. So that's your setup cost. Notice how I like to write things down. Well, I usually do it on an Excel spreadsheet when as I'm reading the problem, I'm writing things down. The manufacturing cost per case is $4.50. So that's your cost. That's your C. And the annual holding cost, your CH, is figured at 24% of the cost of each case, which is $4.50. So I got it right here is my holding cost. A 5-day lead time to schedule and set up a production run is needed, and it operates in this particular business operates 250 days per year. All right, so it takes 5 days to schedule, get inventory, and start all the machines again. So I got all my information there. Gonna go here. I have it here again for you guys, so you can see it. So what's my holding cost? I just computed it here. For some reason I did it here. Usually I do it at the bottom, but I did it up there. So my holding cost is going to be the 24, which is a 24% times 4.5, which is the cost of a case of soap. So that's going to be $1.08 holding cost per each case of soap. And I think the capacity is 60,000. Yeah, and we sell 26,000. Yep. So what is my order quantity, my Q star, where everything starts? Plug it into the formula and you get 3,387. Okay. What is my total cost when my Q star is at 3,387? Plug it all in with your setup costs, which are here. Where are they? Yeah, here, 135. Yep. Let me just double check a couple things here. Just want to make sure. Yes. Minus 26, yes. Plus CO, yes, 135, 26,000 divided by Q. Okay, good. Looks good. To be Q star, but anyways. So you come to, you get to this at this level, and then you plug in your Q, which is 3,387, and you get a total cost of $2,073. That's your total. Remember, that is your minimum cost, your minimum inventory cost. Now, how about your cycles? Let me just move that out of the way. Good. Your production cycles are going to be D divided by Q star. So it's going to be 26,000, which is your demand, divided by your Q star, that's 7.67 times per year. So you're going to have 7 to 8 cycles, going from production runs. So going from production to non-production to production, you're going to have 7 to 8 of those every year. Compare that to my friend, the story that I was telling you before, where he only had one. Now, let's see what happens. The idle time between the production runs. So this is like the non-production piece of the puzzle. Since there are 7.67 cycles per year, then each cycle is going to last 32 days. How do we know that? Because if the year only has 250 working days for this business, obviously, again, we didn't talk about this, but it all depends. It depends on the industry. It depends where which country. It depends on a whole bunch of things. But we assumed that it was 250 days that you could sell and produce. Then 270 divided by 7.67 gives you a 32.56 day length of the production runs. All right. So if each of these lot sizes, these orders of 3,387, if there are 250 days in a year, that means that every 13 days you're going to have one of these orders ready to, well, not ready because you're going to be selling them all the time, but that's how long it's going to take you to produce the Q star, 13.55 days. Okay, so now that we have the two, if your production cycle lasts 32 days, and you have 13 days to produce, 13.55 days to produce the 3,387, then if you take, if you do the math, that means that there's 19.02 days between each run, each complete run. Also, here's this is not one of the formulas, but you can think about this and how your production line, how is it being operated, how is it being utilized. So you can do the math. It would be the number of days it takes to produce your quantity divided by the days of the production period multiplied by 100. It means that your plant is being used 41.60% of the time. Now, before we go there, we have an Excel for that. Let me get it ready. Okay, here's my Excel. I already plugged in all the data, just to make it quick. And notice this is, okay, so we're no longer in EOQ, we are now in lot size. You plug in the data and you get the results right here. The math is right here. You can follow the math. You can, sorry. Okay, you can see where all the numbers come from for each of these formulas. Okay, remove the arrows, put it back the way it is. Excellent. We go to the next one. So the next one is EOQ. So is economic order quantity, our original base model, but with shortages. What does this mean? Shortages or back orders? I'm going to be using both words back and forth. What does this mean? It means that in this operating business, you are going to produce, sell, and you're not going to. You're just going to sell, produce, until you run out, and then more, and then some. You're going to allow your customers to be slightly upset. So how often do you go to a store? Hopefully not very often, but how often do you go to a store and they don't have what you want? Have you ever been to a restaurant and they say, "Oh, we're sorry, we ran out of we run out of, I already used the lobster, so I can. We run out of the, hake, or, we run out of the monkfish, something like that, right? So that could happen. Or you can go to a car dealership and they can say, sorry, we don't have that in inventory. We, is back, we will have to order it or something like that, but we don't have it on the lot. So this is what we're talking about. Notice how this chart is very similar to EOQ. It's almost identical. The only thing that we've done is basically we kind of raised the floor right up a little bit, and now what happens is you are allowed to go under 0 with back orders. So you're allowed to not serve your customers and either tell them to leave, don't tell them, well, they can leave if they want to, or you can take orders and say, oh yeah, we'll call you up when we bring it in. Now this model, it's convenient because it lowers your inventory holding cost, because you don't have to hold as much inventory. So it's beneficial to the business, but it is not a great idea because you're going to make your customers very upset. I have been in situations with some businesses where back order seemed to be the modus operandi for everything they did. Everything was back order. Very common in auto parts. They have everything back order. So your new inventory orders are going to arrive after you reach 0, when you are in the back order inventory area or period, zone, if you will. Now, there is another cost. There's a new cost to this. So we have our holding cost, we have our ordering cost, but now there's another cost, the cost of back order, because I have okay, fine, I was kind of being funny about making your customers upset and telling them to leave, but there's actually a cost to that. Eventually, if your customers keep coming to your restaurant and you never have anything, if you don't have what they want, they're going to never come back again. So there's a high cost to that. So customer dissatisfaction, you're going to make your customers upset. So there's certain cost to that. So that's what the back order cost is. Okay, how is this going to impact your business? But other than that, the assumptions are the same. You're going to produce, you're going to sell, and then at some point you're going to put an order in. The order is going to come in immediately, so you're going to go right back up. Now, and so on and so forth. But notice, every time you go up all the way to your maximum inventory up here, you're not going to have a full inventory. The reason for that is because you have back orders. So you have to fulfill those back orders as well. So you're going to have Q minus S minus those back orders. Okay? As you can, I have it here much better explained on the left side. Notice how your entire order is Q star, right? Is the entire height of this, triangle. But some of it, S, has to go to the back orders. So you never reach, your inventory never actually reaches the maximum inventory as before. We have new formulas, but again, it's the same structure. How much is the Q star? So here now we have 2 square roots. So is the square root of 2D, 2 times the demand times the cost of ordering divided by the cost of holding, then you multiply by the square root of the cost of holding plus the cost of the back orders, CB, divided by CB, the cost of back orders. Now, maximum number of back orders. Okay, there's going to be a maximum number of back orders that your business is going to tolerate. We'll talk more about that in a second. The number, this is the same, the number of orders per year is going to be D divided by Q star. The time between the orders, same thing, is going to be Q star divided by D. And then your total annual cost, the formulas are very similar, but slightly different because now we are incorporating the cost of back ordering the goods, right? Because you're making your customers upset, you're gonna have to pay for that. There's certain cost to that. So the formula, got a little bit bigger, but it's still based on some of the same principles. The principles of holding, ordering, and now back ordering. Okay, here's an example. So this company has a product for which the assumptions of the inventory model with shortages are valid. That is, this is a business where they allow back orders. They are okay with that. Management has no issues with that up to a point. The demand for the product is 2,000 units per year. The inventory holding cost is 20%. So I got my 20%. Here it is. The product cost, the product cost this company $50 to purchase. So that's my C, which is right here. The ordering cost is $25 per order, which is right here, my CO. And the annual shortage cost is estimated to be $30 per unit per year. So that's how much we have estimated when we have a customer not getting the goods. We estimate that's the cost to our company, about $30 in foregone sales, customer dissatisfaction. Perhaps another way of doing it is when a customer comes in and we don't have the product for them. We have a policy like, hey, we don't have your product. We'll give you $30 gift card. For example, I've seen things like that in the past. So easy, that's the cost of back ordering. The customer is happy, like, oh, I get $30. At least I get something. And they operate for 250 days per year. All right. So my Q star, you always start with the Q star. We use a formula, the 2DCO divided by CH multiplied by the square root of CH plus CB divided by CB. You do the math, and I'm sorry, I'm missing my square roots here. I don't know where they went. I'll try to put them back on before I post the presentation. So it's 115.47. That's your Q star. Now, if that's the case, the maximum amount of back orders that you will have is 28.87 back orders, according to our formulas, which may or may not be good or we don't know if it's good or bad. Okay, but that's what's going to happen if you only order 115 units for your inventory at a time. You're going to have, during this span of time, you're going to have 29 back order units. And now there's a cost. Remember the $30? So things start to kind of link in. Oops, sorry. So here's my Excel. Sorry about that. I was just making sure that I plugged in all the right numbers. Yep, I did. And you plug the numbers in the yellow up here, right? And right below, you get exactly the right answers. You get your production lot size is going to be there, 115.47. I should change that. I prefer to call that Q star. Sorry. I'll make the changes live here. All right. Good. The number of back orders is 2887, and from there it all trickles down all the data. So your total annual cost is $866. Okay, which includes $108 in back order cost throughout the year. Okay, so that's EOQ with back orders. Our next model is going to be EOQ, so it's our base model, but with discounts. Remember, so what we're doing is we are relaxing some of the assumptions that we made at the very beginning with EOQ, and one of them was, if you recall, one of the assumptions was that the price that you pay for your inventory does not change based on the size of the inventory order, which some of you may say like, oh, that is not very realistic because, in my business, right, if we put a big order, we get a better deal, which, is true, but it's not always true. It's not always true for all businesses. So we have the case where we get a little bit of a reduction in the cost, in the C. Now, not to be confused, again, if you have taken one of my other classes, or maybe in the future, this is not to be confused with account payable discounts, where you get a discount for early payment of your accounts payable. No, this is not the case. This is a discount for the size of the order, not when you pay for that order. I have some kind of good news and bad news. The good news is that we don't need new formulas. We're going to use the exact same. We're going to use the basic EOQ model. The bad news is that now, because we have these discounts, we're going to have to do we're going to do the EOQ modeling multiple times at different levels, and then we're going to compare. When we do that, and we finally pick the right option, we're going to break one of the rules from the very, very beginning, which was, if you recall, I'll go back so it makes sense. Is it either one, but this one? The minimum annual total cost, the bottom of that curve, takes place at the same order quantity level as where the annual inventory holding cost and the annual ordering cost, where they meet, where they're equal in cost and quantity. When that happens, that's when we get the annual total cost. Well, now that's not true anymore. It's not true anymore. And the reason for that is because one of them, well, not one of them, but we are introducing a little bit of a cheat here. We are introducing the issue of discounts based on quantity. So that's no longer going to be exactly true. So an example of the situation is, for example, a car manufacturer that pays $300 per tire if each order is under 10,000 tires, right? But if you order more than 10,000 tires, you're going to get a little discount from Michelin, Pirelli, or Continental. You get a $10 discount per tire, so you only pay $2.90 per tire when you order more than 10,000. So that's a very common example. Okay. So we're going to jump. So like I said to you, there are no new formulas. We're using the same formulas as before. The problem is that we're going to have to do this over and over and over until we get a clear picture of which model is better. So here's an example. We have a product with 5,000 unit per year demand that we're currently buying at $5 per unit, no discount. So that's the base price, $5. Holding cost, so your CH is 20%, and the ordering cost is your CO is $49. We are now offer the opportunity to get a discount of 3% if we order between 1,000 to 2,499, or a discount of 5% if we order more than 2,500. So I have a little table here that summarizes this new opportunity. So if you order less than 1,000, there's 0 discount, you pay 5. If there's 1,000 to 2,499, there's a 3% discount and a price of $4.85. More than 2,500, discount is 5%, you only pay $4.75. So how much should you order? Okay, so this is the process, and I broke it down in steps because it's just, you have to follow the steps one by one to get to the answer. So run EOQ, basic EOQ with the basic formula, just the very basic formula for EOQ, square root of 2D CEO divided by CH, right? Run it at each level for all of them, right? So if you run it for at $5, then it's going to be 700. That will be 700 is the amount of order, the size of the order, right? It should be 700. If you run it for 485, it should be 711. And if you run it at 475, it's going to be 718, right? So we are running EOQ at the different cost, different C, right? And right away, you're probably thinking, didn't work out, right? Because look, all the EOQs we found, all the optimal inventory orders, they're all under 1,000. So you don't qualify. You wouldn't qualify for the discount. So you're like, oh, we're done. No, not quite, not quite. There's a little trick that we have to do. Step 2. For those, so I'm just going to read. For those Qs that we just computed, Q1, Q2, and Q3, right, which would be the EOQs, for the optimal EOQs for each price level, for the ones that are too small to qualify for the discount. So Q1 is not going to, Q1, which is 5, doesn't qualify for any discounts because it's the base rate of 5, right? And 700, if you order 700, you will pay $5 because that's the deal. So it doesn't qualify for anything. Now, the second scenario, $4.85, you're going to order 711. Well, if you order 711, you are not going to qualify for 485. So this is incorrect. You're not going to qualify. And for the third model, which is it's more than 2,500 units, if you recall, you are absolutely not going to meet the threshold because you're only going to order 718 units. So for these two, Q2 and Q3, all right, you're going to adjust the Q to the nearest quantity, right, that will allow you to at least get the discount. So in this case, for Q2, right, the closest, the nearest quantity that would allow you to get the discount is 1,000. Because if you remember, from 1,000 to 2,499, you get the $4.85 cost. Okay, so you're going to adjust that Q2 that you computed, 711. You're going to make it 1,000. You're going to force it to 1,000. Then for Q3, 718, that's now going to be 2,500, which is the amount, the minimum that you need to order to qualify for the discount. All right, good. Now you're going to find the total cost for each of the scenarios. Excuse me. Using these new Qs that we have kind of plugged in, we have forced into the system. And then you're just going to pick the Q star with the lowest total cost once you plug in the new amounts. All right, and I'll show you in the Excel. If you do it, so now you're going to have to do it 3 times because you have 3 different prices, right? The more prices you have, the more times you have to do it. So here they are, category 1, category 2, scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3, whichever you want to call it. Look, all the numbers are the same with the exception of the cost per unit. So here I have 5, 485, 475, right? And then when I compute my EOQ, which is up here, it's going to be 700, 710, and 718. You can follow along with in the Excel. Let me jump to the Excel. Right? This is just what I'm showing you on the PowerPoint is just a screenshot of this, right? So here are my 3 scenarios, and the only difference, I'm going to make that yellow, and then I'm going to make this, I don't know, something, okay. The only difference is the 5, the 485, and the 475. So we get new EOQ 700, 710, 718. Okay? And the total annual cost is 25, 24, 24, but these are not going to, we're not going to use this, okay? Because we're going to run this new 3 scenarios where we have the exact same data. All of that is true. However, what we're going to do is we are going to plug in. Do you see how here I'm going to plug in 1,000 and 2,500, which is step 2. I'm going to artificially enter 1,000 and 2,500 in here. So in this case, you have to plug them in, right? Everything down here is computed by Excel. Here, for this first row, just for the first row, you're going to have to punch, you have to key in those amounts and override Excel. Do that, and you're going to get new numbers. You see your total cost here. I'm going to jump to the Excel. You see your total annual cost. Now, the lowest total annual cost is scenario 2. 24,980 is your new, of the 3, is the one with the lowest total annual cost. Okay, and that ends EOQ with the discounts. Thank you. On the next video, we're going to look at some other models. Thank you.